All right. Should be all good to go here. Give it a few seconds to make sure I'm live. Thank you for those of you that are joining me today on the YouTube, which I should hear myself very shortly here. Heck yeah, dude. We are all good to go. All right. So looking at the Martinsville race. Now, when we look at the three races this weekend between the Cup, Truck, and Xfinity, I mean, we already saw, what's going on, and everybody throwing a fit about what happened with Eckes and whatever. Not really concerned about that too much in the Truck Series, and in the Cup. I mean, Cup might get stupid as well, but this is the race that I am super worried about from like a lineup perspective of just having lineups be absolutely destroyed. Let me move that here, mainly because when we look at the starting grid, it's like the first U-boat landing on Omaha Beach, right? Like Retzlaff and Alfredo, they're just not going to survive. There is absolutely no way in heck these guys make it through this, right? Parker starting first, Anthony starting second. Parker, I think he's going to get steamrolled at some point, right? Like I still have these guys projected for laps led and stuff, but realistically, I mean Parker's going to fall out of the top 8 in this race, man. He's going to get used up. Alfredo, more aggressive, probably better. Actually, they're quite equal, but for this situation of how they would probably approach it, Alfredo could probably hold his own better than Parker Retzlaff, but the fact that we're realistically losing the top 2 guys on this race. Now, that's how I view it. If you look at my projections, which I'll just tell you right now, at least for these 2 guys, like I have Parker projected for 35.35 points. I have Anthony Alfredo projected for 35.05 points. That's them both with laps led and fast laps, and them finishing like 10th and 9th. I'm personally not going to play them. That is my opinion on them. We don't have to discuss them any further. Like about, what do you think about them? What do you have them projected? I just don't think they perform that well. Past that, how long does Parker stay up there and lead? What does Alfredo do? How many laps do these guys steal from the guys from 3rd to 10th? When we look at the practice laps, we see Custer. We're not really worried about DiBenedetto at the moment. Discussion for another time. But we look at DiBenedetto, Sieg, Herbst, and this is just, averages across where they are at. I mean, now, yet again, these guys did run shorter laps than the rest of the field. So, take it with a grain of salt when you have, Sammy Smith, you have Anthony Alfredo who ran long, just clearly not seeing enough green here to say, oh yeah, he's going to compete with the guys up front. But when we're looking at these, when we're looking at these guys, the people who have fast cars realistically are these guys up, in the top, 15 or so here. Okay. And this is based on averages and stuff. If you're way down here and you're on averages, like you're just not going to be competing. You're going to be laps down, et cetera, et cetera. Same thing. Like the back of the field at these races just don't have speed. They're going to get lapped easily and they're going to break away. It's really a battle between, the top 8 fastest guys of like who can get up into the top 8, who can then maneuver through each other and get to the lead. It then falls between like the cars running like 9th to like 22nd. There's really like no separation. It's just whatever line gets going on a restart. It's just whoever has, a quicker 3 laps to bump somebody out of the way or move somebody out. Like, so when we're looking at this race here and we're looking at the starting grid, we're seeing everybody pretty even. Like where I'm at, there's no real big favorites here. Okay. I think anybody between Chandler Smith, Allgaier, Hill, Eric Amarola, and Custer are probably all the likely race winners in this field. I think we see laps led spread out tremendously in this race, more so than normal, only due to the fact that these guys are by default starting up front. I don't necessarily believe that Chandler Smith and Love are the best cars of the fast gang here. I think that does go to Eric Amarola. I think that does go to Cole Custer. I think it does go to Austin Hill. When we look at how Austin Hill and Creed, for example, perform at short tracks in general, like Austin Hill's going to be a top 5 guy all day. Creed has a real chance of, being 3rd or 2nd at some point in this race. And so when we're looking up top, the projections are probably going to be pretty similar for all these guys kind of across the board. There's not just one guy that runs away with it from a projection standpoint. Okay, so when it comes to that situation, or we run into a situation like that, I typically start relying more on the place differential upside of these 10K drivers. So by default, that would lend me to using Eric Almirola. That would lead me to using Cole Custer. That would lead me to using Riley Herbst in this race, and that hasn't even brought up the rest of the field. This is just kind of who's the lap leaders and whatnot in this race, and I think it's a really really big toss up here. I also think we see a lot of yellows in this race. Okay, now last year we had that big one in turn one. Several years ago we had another huge crash. We've had restart incidents to where somebody just loses, or not loses, but they spin their tires on a restart. Somebody plows into them, and we have like 4 or 5 radiators destroyed, and we spend 18 minutes under a red flag when NASCAR puts kitty litter all over the racetrack, messes up the driving line. Like, I think this has a real chance of being an actual shit show. And so for me, in my opinion, I'm like, just gonna do 5 lineups. I'm just gonna take my free tickets that I get for NBA and just dump another 100 or so into the showdown that I want to target tonight. And so, um, I'm not really a big fan of this Xfinity Series slate just because there's a lot of unknowns. I think there'll be a solo winner. I'm not really concerned about that. I think last night was the best chance for a straight winner based on projections without anybody getting stupid. Um, this race, I think we're going to have a lot of variance and a lot of guys being wrecked out, spun out late, especially, even if we wreck late, you know, if we wreck with like 3 to go or 2 to go or like on some restart or whatever, that wreck is probably happening in the top 4 or 5, and so we're going to probably lose somebody who had gone up through the field, who potentially, not even where this on this grid, but like say Parker Kligerman or whatever, or we use him as an example. I don't think this will be him exactly, but use him as an example. Works his way up all day, running ninth. We get into a first green white checkered. Something happens. He moves up to 6. We take the white flag. Parker gets spun, out of 2 on the white flag and finishes 23rd. I think that is live for nearly any driver in this race, and so um, personally, I would play very light today. I really don't have a favorite for lap leaders at all. I think you play Ryan Sieg and move on. Him at 7,800. He had a brake issue, but literally all day to fix it. And, the right front brake line got pinched during practice. Not a concern there. Outside of literally anything that you can fix at a racetrack, you give me 24 hours. A brake line is nothing for these teams. I would have no reason to believe there's any issues here unless these idiots don't know how to bleed the brakes, which I would find very unlikely. So I think Sieg is a must play, as we saw with Enfinger yesterday. And I'm not using this because Enfinger worked yesterday. I'm using this because projection wise, based on his pricing and where Ryan Sieg should finish in terms of speed, you look at Sieg, and yet again he ran into a brake issue. But we look at where Sieg's laps are, and yet again this is averages. But you look at where bunch of green here, nothing but greens, right? Runs into an issue, calls it short. We're all at 90, 91 average mile per hour. Where are the people? Who's he around here? All these clowns in the back. We look at the people that are in front of him. Really all the way up to like 23rd, right? Give or take. And you look at where these guys. I mean, I know not all of them are here, but you look at kind of where these guys are at in terms of averages. Then you look at their actual speeds. I mean, there's like very, very little 91s and 90s here. There's no reason why Ryan Sieg does not pass 17, 18 cars in this race. Now, if he gets wrecked late, whatever. But I think Ryan Sieg is probably the safest, clearest play on this entire slate. Why did it get so dark here? What is going on? I guess it's just raining. I think that's called rain, Brandon. Jesus Louises. Past that, okay, so now we're all over the place here. I think Allgaier, Eric Almirola, Cole Custer are probably the guys you want to focus on from a potential race winning pace. I think Austin Hill is mispriced at 88. Okay, so Allgaier, Hill, Eric Almirola, Cole Custer, in my mind, seem to be the main guys from the top 10 that we would probably want exposure to or consider. Okay. Now, that's not discounting that Chandler Smith or Jesse Love can't lead these laps. I mean, Sammy Smith ran long. Creed knows what he's doing here, but I think these are the safer guys in the top 10. We then continue down and we look at the 20s or, the guys starting in the teens and whatnot. Riley Herbst, and Kligerman probably seem the safest from this range. Now, yet again, we're not playing all these guys together, but we're just kind of identifying the people that I think would have speed or would be able to work their way into being optimal, either based on the pricing or whatever the case situation, or whatever the situation may be. I mean, Parker at 76 and Austin Hill at 88 seem to be the biggest misprices in my opinion here. Past that, we're dealing with a bunch of like B tier idiots. I mean, this is a prime example of a race that I would not be shocked to see them just wrecking for last. And then once these idiots get done wrecking for last, it's then, these guys lose their mind at stages and trying to get into Phoenix or whatever, right? I'm gonna see if there's any comments or anything specific here. What I assume Hamlin crashed. Whatever. Well, I'll handle that. Well, Sterling, that is a problem for tomorrow. I am pulling the data right now for practice. I assume he crashed or whatever. Like, side note, really fast, like Hamlin being short on points, Larson being short. Tomorrow's going to be it's probably going to be a shit show as well. Like, yesterday was the race, and that's why I'm not disappointed, because any idiot can lead the contests at any point in the race. But the fact that I was winning the 10 for like 65 laps, dude. Like, then Daniel Dye blew up. And then I forgot what else exactly changed the outcome there. But yesterday was the clean race. I think today and tomorrow we just embrace stupidity. Like, honestly, I mean, the fact that it's 250 laps, I think regardless if it's leader A, B, or C, one of the lap leaders will be in the optimal today, most likely the race winner. But really, I think you can get away. Now, I would not probably stack the entire back or whatever. Like, I'm be very hesitant on any of these idiots. Like, if we separate this field into good cars and bad cars really fast, let's just kind of do that here. I'll do it on this side since this isn't fucking anything up. You have like three distinct fields here, right? Like, we have like A class, A class, A class, A class, A class. Like, let's actually like separate all these idiots really fast, maybe for this example here. So, like, this is the top of the top, cream of the crop, right? We then go, and you could argue that this would be, top 10 guys, whatever. We then look at, and maybe this is not the correct way to go about it. It's kind of like I do plate racing as well, but it's probably going to help me identify people here. So you get like, these are the B guys, and then you go like for the C tier in terms of skill, like where these guys should probably fall in line at. So, we're like here, right? And then you got people who are either in like slow cars or cars that they shouldn't necessarily be in or whatever, right? Okay, so if you then sort the field by like actual skill level, and we look for potential place differential that we want to play with, like, we most likely don't want to stack a lot of these clowns, right? So, like, when I say, stack place differential, be very aggressive, you really don't want to play like these guys in the back of the field because they're going to be slow. They need a ton of assistance, right? Like a ton of assistance for them not to only not crash out, but to then pass a lot of the field. And then so when we start looking at the C's and stuff of people that we might want to get ownership to, and yet again, I'm looking at this and like, if I was like chasing place differential, who would I identify as like not even good place differential, but place differential that won't kill me right off the bat, right? That have a like at least like 4 IQ that won't just spin out and do something stupid. You got Ellis, you got Kyle Sieg. I'm not even sure what I do with Leland. Clearly Ryan Sieg, right? And then like I guess the 20s, like I'm not really a big fan of any of these guys, but like I guess. Once you clear that, you have Williams, Parker, potentially Bubba. I mean, this is an ugly ass race for both place differential. Like if you expect like a full chaos, like who you play with place differential. I mean, I guess it would lean to these guys. Like you probably want more exposure to them. Um, and then past that, like, oh, who are the potential like, you know, 10K guys or good guys who offer place difference who could lead the race, and it's the people that we've highlighted, like Eric Amarola, Custer, possibly even AJ as well. Allgaier Hill. So like even in races that turn into a wreck fest here, we're still kind of playing the same guys, because it's unlikely that like truly like Preston Pardus or like Lupton, like how are these guys optimal? They're not driving through the field on speed alone. Like if Dylan Lupton finishes 20th, that means we've had like a catastrophe, right? Same thing with Pardus. So then where are those issues coming from? Who are potentially being involved in the wrecks and stuff? Well, it would be, potentially guys up here who would be most likely competing for the race win and whatnot. Parker Retzloff and Anthony Alfredo are stuck, in the top 15 because they kind of qualified there and people were like using them up or whatever. This may not have been the best way to go about it, but I mean, maybe you get what I'm saying here of like where the distinct groups are and stuff. So, I mean, long story short, I think you play this slate light. I think you play this slate light. You probably want to play tomorrow light. I would lean towards people in this Xfinity Series race who can at least get me 6 positions past. If you are starting the top 15, like 6 minimum. If you can't offer me that, I really don't have any interest in you. Past that, look for misprices in the 8 and 7K range. I think that is very useful today. I think you play Ryan Sieg, and then whatever value you end up getting to back here, I think you just don't even find it. Don't even worry about whose name it is. I think this race has just the potential of getting so stupid. Like even I would love Shane, right? And Shane will probably use people up, but I'm afraid that like who's the most aggressive? Who are the most aggressive people in this race, right? From like a aggro testosterone point of view, it's Austin Hill, Shelgo Creed, and SVG, right? They will probably move the most amount of people, and they're most likely to get shipped late in the race, right? Like that's why, like, man, SVG 7,200 starting 20th is probably a great play, but very very likely to get dumped on the last lap. Um, so I'd be playing light. That's kind of where I'm at here. I don't think the practice data really matters. I think we see a ton of yellows. I think Eric Amarola is probably the safest. I mean, when we look at the playoff grid, I mean, if you kind of, I mean, this is a situation where you probably do have to factor that, you know. I mean, let me go ahead and bring this up really fast. You look at the playoff grid here. Oh my God, can we load? What a shit show. What an absolute disaster. What a disaster here. Let me check one thing really fast. Give me a moment. I need to look at one thing. Okay, so Austin Hill. Yeah, Austin Hill and AJ are both going to Phoenix. So I think probably between these two from a DFS point of view, I think Custer would probably be the guy you want to go with. Starting 10th or 9th, wherever the hell he's starting. Yeah, Custer starting 10th in this situation, probably going to have to be moving. Expect a lot of stupid stuff from these 4 individual drivers that trying to, bump Cole Custer out or one of these guys in or one of these guys out or whatnot. Custer, Eric Almirola, Justin Allgaier in that order for expensive guys. Or for your primary lap leaders, right? I think that's how I'd look at it. Outside of that, dude, this race is gonna suck. This race is gonna be brutal, man. This is gonna be a bloodbath. It's gonna be an absolute DFS bloodbath. Like what are these two goobers doing up here starting? This throws a wrench in everything because you have these idiot goobers out of the playoffs currently, or out of Phoenix, out of Phoenix, right? Between these two guys. So these guys are in must-win situations. Allgaier has to stay on it. Custer has to stay on it. Like this is a disaster. So I would play light. Do we have any other questions or any other things really fast? I don't think we do. I know this one certainly wasn't helpful at all, but that's where we're at. And yeah, I'll most likely see you. Well, no, actually not. I'll see you guys tomorrow morning. Real quick, premium MMA video that Sheets made this morning is up for subscribers. If you are interested in playing the UFC card today, I will be live tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern time to talk Cup Series. The F1 race starts at noon Eastern. So my show will probably only be 30 minutes tomorrow because I want to make sure and look at late news for the F1 race. Past that, I think that's the best advice we can give today. This is gonna be a bloodbath race. Just best of luck, try and survive, and see you guys later. Bye bye.